When he returned, he held a bundle of lush purple flowers. These are called the tears of the moon. They will ease your pain, but only for a few days. Illyra took the flowers, her eyes filled with gratitude. That's a lot of time. Thank you, she said. And so a bond was formed between the spider hunter and the princess of the Oborɔnyis. A long time ago in the interior of forests of West Africa, where no foreign foot dared, there lived a great clan of hunters, the Koko Ashantes. They lived in harmony with the land filled with precious gemstones, their arrows silent but deadly, their traps invisible until it was too late. The clan was led by Asari Kwame, a wise and fierce warrior who commanded respect from all who knew him. But the peace of the Ashantes was shattered when the Oborɔnyis, a curly-haired clan with piercing blue eyes, arrived from the distant lands across the great waters. They came not to trade or make peace, but to conquer. They were promptly resisted by the Koko Ashantes warriors, led by the mighty hunter Asari Kwame. The battle raged for months unending. Although the Oborɔnyis outnumbered the Koko Ashantes, yet they couldn't defeat the forest clan because of Asari Kwame's secret weapon, his enchanted thunder spear. Not until he was betrayed by his trusted friend Awusi, who for the promise of riches and power stole the enchanted spear and gave it to the Oborɔnyis. Then, Oborɔnyis launched a surprise attack on the Ashanti village, decimating them with the thunder spear. Bound in chains, Asari Kwame was brought before the young Oborɔnyi king, Apia Ado, who sneered at the fallen warrior. "You have fought well, Asari Kwame," the king said, his voice cold and cruel. "But your people are defeated. Your land is ours." Asari Kwame, though beaten, remained defiant. "You may take our land, but you will never break our spirit." With that, Chief Asari closed his eyes and began to chant in the ancient tongue. The words were powerful, filled with the energy of the ancestors. As he spoke, the wind picked up, swirling around the Oborɔnyi king and his soldiers. "I curse you, Oborɔnyi," Chief Asari declared, his voice rising above the howling wind. "Your skin shall burn under the sun, and no balm shall ease your pain. You will live in darkness, and your days will be numbered. The curse will not relieve until my blood forgives." The ground shook as the curse took hold. The spear vanished from the commander's hand in flames. The Oborɔnyis staggered back, clutching their burning skin. The once proud invaders were now writhing in agony, unable to bear the touch of sunlight. The king, terrified, ordered his men to retreat. But the damage was done. Though the Oborɔnyis had conquered the land, they were cursed. They built towers to hide from the sun and fashioned strange garments to protect themselves. But nothing could cure them of the plague that now haunted their every waking moment. And so, the prophecy of Chief Asari began to unfold. 12 moon cycles passed. The Ashantes, though defeated, were not broken. They had retreated into the deepest parts of the forest, biding their time, waiting for the right moment to strike. Among them was Anansi Kwame, the grandson of Asari Kwame, known as the Spider Hunter. Anansi was a master of stealth, his movements as silent as a spider weaving its web. He led a small band of warriors who carried out surprise attacks on Oborɔnyi supply lines. The Ashantes might not have had the strength to defeat the Oborɔnyis in open battle, but they were masters of guerrilla warfare. One night after a successful raid, Anansi and his men sat around a fire, sharing tales of their ancestors. Anansi's closest friend, Kofi, turned to him with a serious expression. "Anansi," Kofi began, "do you believe the prophecy? That one day we will be free?" Anansi stared into the flames. "I do, Kofi. My grandfather's curse still holds. The Oborɔnyis grow weaker with each passing year. Their skin burns, their lives are short. They do not make it to 70 full moon cycles. But we must be patient. The time will come when the prophecy is fulfilled." Kofi nodded, though his eyes were filled with doubt. "I hope you're right, my friend. I truly do." In the heart of the Oborɔnyis stronghold, the curse was taking its toll. Only by sunset did their soul find rest. But by then, the effect of their ineffective pain-killing potions left many exhausted. The once mighty young king Apia Ado was now an old man, his skin scarred and burnt from years of suffering. His granddaughter, Princess Elira, was also plagued by the curse. Despite the wealth and power of her people, she lived in constant pain by day, her skin raw and blistered. One night, unable to bear the agony any longer, Elira decided to leave the safety of the Oborɔnyis walls and venture into the Ashante territory. She had heard whispers of the Ashante forests being filled with healing plants, and she hoped to find something, anything, that could ease her suffering. She made her way into the dense forest. But the forest was treacherous, filled with traps set by Anansi and his men. Before she knew it, Elira found herself caught in a snare, hanging upside down from a tree. As she struggled to free herself, she heard footsteps approaching. Panic set in as a tall, shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. It was Anansi. "Who are you?" Anansi demanded, his voice stern. Elira, though terrified, met his gaze. I am no one of consequence, just a traveler seeking herbs to ease my pain." Anansi frowned. Something about her seemed familiar, but he couldn't place it. He approached her, cutting her down from the snare. Then he saw her scarred skin and striking blue eyes. "You're Oborɔnyis," Anansi said, his voice low and dangerous. Elira nodded, too weak to argue. "Yes, but I mean you no harm. I just want to be free from this curse." Anansi hesitated. He had every reason to hate the Oborɔnyis. They had taken his land, killed his people, murdered his ancestors. But as he looked at the fragile woman before him, he felt something stir in his heart. "Wait here," he said, disappearing into the forest. When he returned, he held a bundle of lush purple flowers. "These are called the tears of the moon. They will ease your pain, but only for a few days." Elira took the flowers, her eyes filled with gratitude. "That's a lot of time. Thank you," she said. "You can always come back for more." Anansi found himself saying before he could think, "I'd like that very much." "What is your name?" "Anansi," he replied. "Anansi," she repeated softly. "I am Elira. I will not forget your kindness." And so a bond was formed between the spider hunter and the princess of the Oborɔnyis as he walked her out of the forest. The jealous commander Zuko, the young commander of the Oborɔnyis army, whose father vanquished Asari Kwame in their great conquest, was revered by everyone. Being engaged to Elira, he was assumed to be the next king of the Oborɔnyis. Zuko came to the stables to surprise Elira. She was back, but only her horse was in the stables. A soft purple glow from her saddlebag got Zuko's attention. Zuko's eyes widened when he saw the purple flowers. Strange plants. Where has she been? Zuko wondered anxiously. The next night, Elira set out again to see Anansi. Unbeknownst to her, Zuko and his men followed stealthy. A while later, deep within the forest, Elira and Anansi stood in each other's arms in a beautiful sanctuary. They only met a day before, but their bond was like that of eternal lovers. Zuko watched from his hideout, burning with jealousy. He gave the command and his men pounced on Anansi, apprehending the spider hunter. Kofi saw the commotion, but the Oborɔnyis soldiers outnumbered him. He dashed away to inform the clan. Zuko brought Anansi to the king in chains, accusing him of kidnapping the princess and defiling her. The king was furious, his anger barely contained. Yes, he knew Zuko lied out of jealousy, but he couldn't bear the thought of this Ashante hunter being with his granddaughter. "You dare to trespass into our lands and corrupt my granddaughter?" the king spat. "You will be executed for your crimes." But before the king could give the order, the chief priest stepped forward. The old man's eyes were clouded with age, but his voice was strong. "My king," the priest said, "I beg you to reconsider. Remember the prophecy. The curse will not relieve until my blood forgives. Perhaps this is the sign we have been waiting for." The king hesitated. He had suffered for so long, his people had suffered. Could it be that this strange connection between his granddaughter and Anansi was the answer? However, Zuko, blinded by jealousy and pride, preferred to live in pain than allow himself to be humiliated by an Ashanti Koko hunter. Before the king could make a decision, Zuko stepped forward, his face twisted with rage. "This is madness, my king. You would trust the word of a filthy Ashanti over a noble commander? You are weak, and you are leading us to ruin." The king's eyes narrowed. "Watch your tongue, Zuko. I am still your king." But Zuko had made up his mind. He turned to the soldiers, his voice booming. "The king has lost his way. He would have us bow before the Ashantes. We cannot let this happen." With that, Zuko declared himself the new ruler of the Oborɔnyis and ordered the soldiers to seize the king. The fortress erupted into chaos as Zuko's supporters clashed with those still loyal to the king. In the midst of the turmoil, Zuko attacked the chief priest and took his staff. He found Elle and used the priest's staff and banished her to the Forest of Vengeance, a place of dark magic and dangerous creatures. He believed it was a fitting punishment for her betrayal. Back in the Ashanti village, word of Anansi's capture spread like wildfire. The elders gathered in the sacred grove, their faces filled with worry. The loss of Anansi, their strongest warrior and leader, was a heavy blow. But amidst their despair, one voice rang out with hope. Nana, the young priestess of the Ashantes, known for her wisdom and powerful connection to the good spirit. "The time has come for us to fulfill the prophecy. We must act quickly, or all will be lost." The eldest of the council, Kweku, shook his head. "Nana, the Oborɔnyis are preparing for war. Their new king, Zuko, is ruthless. Without Anansi, how can we stand against them? I will create a protective barrier that will keep the Oborɔnyis out of our territory, but the spell will take a toll on me, and I can only maintain it for 3 days." The elders exchanged worried glances. 3 days, one of them murmured. "What will happen after that?" Nana's expression remained resolute. "Anansi must return with the spear of Asari Kwame to defeat Zuko." Kweku nodded solemnly. "Then we must find a way to free Anansi and retrieve the spear. But how can we do this with time so short?" Meanwhile, within the Oborɔnyi fortress, Anansi sat in his prison cell, his mind racing. He had to get out of these chains. Zuko would come for him. Then the door to his cell creaked open. Anansi braced himself, but the wounded chief priest staggered in, clutching his side in pain, holding a bunch of keys. He unlocked Anansi's chains. "The curse that plagues my people," said the priest with belabored breath, "will only be lifted if we make peace with the Ashantes. And you, Anansi, are the key to that peace." Anansi stared at him in confusion. "The princess, Elle, has been banished to the Forest of Vengeance. Save her," Anansi nodded. "Thank you, Elder. Your kindness will be remembered." The priest nodded, a sad smile on his face. "Go. May the good spirit guide you." As Anansi dashed off, the priest slumped on the ground, lying lifeless. As Anansi slipped out of the Oborɔnyi's kingdom, his heart was heavy with indecision. He had to choose between rescuing Elle and protecting his people. The thought of his village, his family, being destroyed weighed on him. Anansi's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of Nana, echoing in his mind. "Anansi, trust in the prophecy. The princess and the spear are connected. Go to the Forest of Vengeance, and you will find both your destiny and your people's salvation." With Nana's words guiding him, Anansi set off into the night, heading for the dangerous and mysterious Forest of Vengeance. The Oborɔnyi army marched towards the Ashanti territory. Nana raised her arms, began to chant the ancient incantations. A shimmering barrier of light slowly formed around the Ashanti village. sealing them from the outside world. But the effort drained Nana's energy. Her body trembled, and she collapsed to the ground, her breathing labored. Kweku rushed to her side, concern etched on his face. "Nana, are you all right?" he asked, his voice filled with worry. Nana managed a weak smile. "Do not fear for me, Kweku. My duty is to protect our people, even if it costs me my life. Anansi must return with the spear within 3 days, or the barrier will fail, and the Oborɔnyis will overrun us."